That's true. All right, so let's take a look at some new material. I'll try to find my energy and enthusiasm. I've been doing a lot of late nights, and sometimes things make a whole lot of sense when I'm putting the presentations together, and then I get the presentation up there, I'm like, wow, that's just way too much detail, or it's not flowing right in the class. But, try to wake myself up a little and bring my game. So the format package, I like this idea of looking at the different packages and just trying to break them open and see what do they exactly do, because a lot of learning language, I forget, somebody said, you know, there's a couple of things you got to do in learning language, but one of the things is you got to learn the syntax, and then after you've learned the syntax, you need to learn like the libraries or the packages and what kind of chunks of code are already out there written that you could use and how to use them and what do they do. And then maybe after that you need to learn like design patterns or how is the language actually written. Do you use like like functional programming like Lisp and Haskell, or what's the approach to writing code in that language? And so anyhow, we'll look at the format package. And if we go to godoc.org, wow, I just feel better already, just kind of bring a little more energy. I was up till 3:30 last night. We go to godoc.org, which my computer is not going there for some. Oh, there we go. We have the format package. So anyhow, we'll look at that in a second. I have all these laid out in the slides. So the format package. Format, right? That's where we get print line. We've been seeing that all the time. Format, print line. Try to use some voices to wake myself up too. Format, print line. And, there it is. It's printing it. Right? And so we could go look at that package. And the first thing we'll see, is right up here at the top is a description of the package. And we've got format. Package implements formatted I/O with functions analogous to C's printf and scanf. The format verbs are derived from C's but are simpler. So we already kind of touched on some of this stuff already. But what does I/O stand for? Yeah, input, output, right? So printing is output. Scanning is input, right? And so this implements the formatted I/O with functions analogous to C's, printf, and scanf. And verbs, we looked at the verbs a little bit. So when we're using the printf or scanf with the F, we could use any of these verbs. And so I'm sure we'll see that in one of the examples I put together. I'm just looking to see if we have an F. There we go, sprintf. And so with that one, I am formatting some stuff and printing it to a string, and then I could use that string, right? So %s, string print meaning print to string. And so we have different formatting verbs. Did we talk about formatting verbs already and look at them? Not much. And so knowing that when you have sprintf or printf or scanf, you could take things and bring them in and format them a certain way. That's how they'd be helpful. What might be some of the things that are coming in, and how might you want to format them? You might have hexadecimal coming in. I want to show that as hexadecimal. Or base 2, I want to show it as binary. Or decimal, I want to show it as base 10 decimal. Or I might have, I don't know.
Dates.
Yeah, maybe dates. I don't know if there's something in there for dates, but strings. And so if we look at all the different verbs, and I actually laid this out here, so let me try to stay on track with what I put together. Right, here we have the different, functions that are available in the format package. And so print, scan, and sprint. And we have print, printf, and print line, and scan, scanf, and scan line, and sprint, sprintf, and sprint line. And so, chunks of 3, and each one has a suffix of nothing, of f, and line. And so print line is going to put a new line character after what you print. So move it down line, and if I do print without that, right, my command prompt's going to be right at the end of what I printed. And if I do print line, so it puts the line in there, then it moves it down a line. And then the F part allows us to do the formatting.
Do you think sprint or anything that's got the S in front of it turns into a string?
Well, yeah, string print. And then scan is getting user input.
Okay.
So here we have print, printf, and print line. And I always think it's good to kind of try to understand what the documentation is saying, though I find it difficult to read at times. It's like, what the hell is that saying? But the more I kind of bang my head against the wall, the easier it becomes. So function print takes a variadic number of parameters, and they're of any type. That's what the interface, empty interface means, blank, the blank interface. And empty interface, blank interface, I'm not sure what the right phrase I'm supposed to use there. And it returns an int and an error. And so what would be the int that it returns? Maybe the number of bytes that are written. So it returns the number of bytes written. There you see that in the last line right there, and any other error. So pretty straightforward. Anybody have questions about print, printf, printline? No? And then variadic. I don't know if I have any examples of printf. Do you guys want to play with printf a little bit, or we'll see it through the day in the class. And variadic means variable number of parameters. And so those little dots mean variadic right there. It means I could take a variable number of parameters. So when you have the dots before, that's parameters. And when you have the dots afterwards, that's argument. Those are args. And so the dot, 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 I like to think about what the symbols mean. And I think we saw that with pointers and ampersand, right? Particularly the pointer, that's a cool symbol that they chose that. But dots, what does that mean in English? It usually means there's something more. Like, right? Like, I don't know. The president said, in these hard times, dot, 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 we all need to help. Like that, there's more stuff in there, but it's been cut out. Or there are many options, cheese, wine, bread, dot, 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 meaning, okay, we could elaborate more of the options, right? Example, dot, 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 until the end of time, And so the dots just mean, hey, there's something more here. And it's helpful to remember that. We already use that in English, and then when you see it here, it's not as foreign. So, again, looking back to the documentation, the and variadic stuff, the final parameter in a function signature, and so this is the function signature up here, right, may have a type prefix with dot, dot, dot. And so the final argument in the function signature may have a type prefix with dot, dot, dot. A function with such parameter is called variadic and may be invoked with 0 or more arguments for that parameter. And so here it's being invoked with 0. Or this has no parameters. This has just one parameter, an int. Here is, 2 parameters. One's being thrown away, blank identifier, and they're both ints. And then we have a float 32, and it returns a bool. Right? A and B are both ints, and then Z is a float 32, and it returns a bool. So those are just examples of functions. And then I don't know why they're included here when you're talking about variadic, right? But maybe to show you here's stuff without variadic. But or maybe I'm just totally getting it wrong. And here's a prefix string, that's one argument, and then values, and here's a slice, or that's going to be variadic int, variadic number of ints. And so that's variadic, right? It's the last parameter, and it's prefixed with dot, dot, dot. And same thing here, prefix with dot, dot, dot. So there's more information on that. Passing arguments to dot, dot, dot variadic parameters. So if f is variadic, how many people find it helpful to sort of walk through the documentation? Is that helpful to you? Cool, it's totally helpful to me, so I'm glad it works for you too. How many people not helpful? Go ahead, dude, raise your hand. I know you totally got it. No? He's good. If f is variadic with a final parameter, p of type t. So let's just pause on that for a second, because it's helpful when you're reading the Go documentation to recognize that a lot of times you see these single letter variables used in specific ways over and over and over. So f might be, why did they choose f? I know it might be obvious, but why is f, if f is variadic? F could be just a very short abbreviation for function, right? If a function is variadic with a final parameter p, why p? Parameter, right? Of type t, why t? Type, right? So, the type is, right, okay, it's variadic. So just like here we had dot, dot, dot interface, right? Here we have dot, dot, dot t. And so this is just the shorthand notation in the documentation saying, hey, that's type. A lot of times I see capital T, that's type. Or I see F, that's function. I see P, that's parameter.
So saying that it could be a bunch of different types?
A bunch of different types. Yeah, it could be any type.
Any type.
Yeah, just a type. It's just a type here.
But you got to end with something.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Interface. Could it end with?
This one did interface. That's a type. Interface is a type.
But it could end with
int,
integer,
string, bool,
string, or whatever.
Yeah.
As long as it's dot, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
Anything can be put in there. Any type can be put in there.
Yeah. And I was hitting confusion today about, what were the types in Golang? Because I was kind of geez. Later on, I'm does that have 2 types? And when we get to that, you'll see what I'm talking about. But then, so just go back to the spec and look at okay, what are the types? And we have the, oops, let me just do it, it's better right there. We have the types right there. All right, we have method sets, bool, numeric, string, array, slice, struct, pointer, function, interface, map, and channel. Interface is actually a type. And I wonder if they have anything about capital T there in the type stuff. I'm just looking for capital T. So each type, capital T, right? So there's that capital T again. Make this bigger. So if f is variadic with a final parameter p of type t, then within f, within the function, the type of p is equivalent to type slice t, right? So a slice of t, yeah. So here, I thought we had some example. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, right here, dot, 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 int, that's equivalent to a slice of ints. All right, that's what's being passed in. Anyhow, we'll see that in a second, but that's what that documentation is saying right there. If f is invoked with no actual arguments for p, the value passed to p is nil. So if the function is invoked with no arguments for p, the value passed to p is nil. Otherwise, the value passed is a new slice of type slice t with a new underlying array whose successive elements are the actual arguments, which all must be assignable to t, just the type, right? So if we have dot, 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 int, when that goes in, it'll be like a slice of ints. That's kind of how the program, that's how Go deals with it. And you know, each of those have to be an int inside. They have to be assignable to just the type. The length and capacity of the slice is therefore the number of arguments bound to p and may differ for each call site. So what was length and capacity when we talked about slices?
Length and capacity?
Yeah, did we talk about that? So slices are built on top of arrays,
Right.
and arrays, when you create an array, it's just 10 items long, and then if you fill that up, it doesn't automatically grow or shrink for you. And then if we do a slice and we say, hey, my slice has a length of 10 and capacity of 100. Once I get to 101, right, then I've reached all my capacity. Like initially, you know, this one has set aside memory for 100, and I'm putting 10 into it. And then I could continue to fill up spaces for the rest all the way up to 100. But when I get to 100, then it doubles my capacity. So capacity is how much stuff can I put into it. And then each time it doubles and doubles and doubles. Maybe that's still coming. I get the classes confused where I've talked to at present state versus here. So that's length and capacity. So here you see an example. Given the function and calls func greeting prefix string who dot 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 string. So that's variadic, right? It's the last parameter in the function, and it's I don't know how to say that. A variadic string. Slice of strings, unlimited number of strings. Within greeting, who will have the value nil in the first call and slice string in the second. So greeting here passed in nobody, and so prefix became nobody, right? And nothing was passed in here, so it's nil. So when we called, here's func greeting. When we called greeting, we just gave it one argument, and that argument went right there to prefix, and nothing was here, so that's nil. The next time we called greeting, hello became prefix, and then these became a slice of strings in here, right?
Okay.
Okay?
I got that.
All right. Within greeting, who will have the value nil in the first call, and slice of string, dot, dot, dot in the second. If the final argument is assignable to a slice type slice t, it may be passed unchanged as the value for a dot, dot, dot t parameter if the argument is followed by dot, dot, dot. In this case, no new slice is created. Given the slice s and call, so here's a slice of strings, and in this call, greeting goodbye, dot, 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 s, dot, dot, dot. So here, greeting takes a variadic parameter, dot, 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 and then down here, we are passing it a slice of strings, which is what it wants. It wants the slice of strings, but we can't just put in s right there. We have to put s, dot, dot, dot. And that's why in this little mnemonic device here, the dots before for the parameters, the dots afterwards for arguments. Right? So if I'm passing in something with a bunch of stuff in it, and there's more in here, then I do the dot, dot, dots after this S.
Because defining it as an array or a slice of strings doesn't do it. You have to pass it that way.
Yeah, so I could have said up here, I could have said, hey, this takes a slice of strings right there, and then I could just pass in S. So it wanted a slice of strings, I gave it a slice of strings. Or up here, I could say, hey, I'm going to take in a varying number, a variadic number of strings. And okay, cool. And now I'm giving you a varying number of strings, and it's in a slice of strings, but because I did this, right, with the args, it knows that there's a bunch of stuff in there. And we'll see that here in the examples.
To say that'd be good to code up too.
All right, yeah, let's
That's
code it up.
Pretty concept.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but that's pretty. It's like wow, okay.
All right,
That would be
so
good if I coded.
let's do it. Let's do
In
it.
this case, it's a varying number of strings as opposed to a varying number of types. So you said
Varying number of strings versus a varying number of types. So one was a slice. One was I saying you could do a slice of string, and then you could just give it a slice of string, or you could do a variadic string and give it a varying
a variadic
number.
string is, it could be a string or some other type. Is that
No, it has to all be strings. I'm just saying I'm going to give you a whole bunch of strings. Like right here, I gave you Joe, Anna, Eileen.
okay? So
Let's cement it.
Why is ... string versus the ... t at the type was a bunch of different types? I thought you said.
I tried to copy that. That was funny. Let's cement it. Okay, let's cement this in. And where in the documentation am I going to learn? How do I go look up in the documentation to learn about the variadic? Where might I look? Where'd I go? Go what? Go where? Golang what? So Golang spec is one of the places I go just to look up like, oh, how does stuff work? And I'm looking for variadic, so I could just do variadic. And I could look through here, and there's not, well, that looked all right. Passing arguments to ... parameters. There it is. Okay? And so passing arguments to ... parameters. I wonder what that is in the index up here. Passing index. Passing arguments to ... parameters. That is under expressions. All right, so let's try this one here. You could copy that and go ahead and start doing it on your own, and I will do it up here. And for key value is equal to colon equals
That code is on the presentation, right? That you showed before.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Under format package 13.
Oh, this code right here.
The one you showed.
This is in
Yeah,
the
no, not that code. The one we were.
right here,
13. Yeah, I'm looking for it. Okay.
right there.
13. Yeah. What number is that? 10.
Which slide number? Slide 13, and you could find it on GitHub.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Where is it on GitHub? Goes to 11. What's
Yeah,
the repository?
GitHub would be goes to 11
So which repository?
and Golang training,
Golang training. Okay. That's there.
and then it's going to be variadic and variadic args. Pretty much what I just wrote. All right, so work that, and I'll come around and see what you guys are doing.